Hi everyone, I wanted to get on today and talk about hormone testing, and this is something that I mention occasionally when I talk on Instagram, but I want to go into a little bit more depth today about the hormone testing that I use with my clients, and that's Dutch testing. So first of all, this is not sponsored in any way. Dutch tests do not even probably know that I exist. So this is just me talking about my experience using the test and the ways that I think it's beneficial for my clients who come to me with hormonal acne. So Dutch testing is dried urine testing. So what it basically is you get a little test kit and you take 4 samples of your urine, sometimes 5 if you wake up during the night. So you take 1 sample before bed, 1 sample if you wake up during the night to pass urine, 1 sample on waking, 1 sample mid-morning, and 1 sample in the afternoon again. So by taking 4 or 5 samples over a 24-hour period, we get a good look at what your hormones are doing on a daily cycle. So if we compare that to something like just serum or blood hormone testing that you might go to your GP for, with that kind of testing, we get a look at what the levels of your major hormones are doing in 1 sample, in 1 snapshot of 1 time of day. So we get 1 single glance at what your hormones are doing, depending what day of your cycle you test them on, and depending even what time of day that can fluctuate as well. So if you're having your hormones tested with a blood test with your GP, they might look at estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, luteinizing hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone. And with the Dutch test, we look at some of those hormones. We look at estrogen, testosterone, progesterone. But the difference is that with the Dutch test, we get to look at not only your major hormones, but all their metabolites. So metabolites include the parts of these hormones are broken down to when we're trying to detoxify and excrete them from the body. So compared to getting 1 snapshot of 1 hormone, we get to see over 30 different hormones and their metabolites at 4 different points throughout the day and night. So we get a really good comprehensive look of not only what your hormone levels are, but also how your body is dealing with them. So for example, with testosterone, which is a major hormonal driver of acne, we get to see not only how much testosterone you're producing and how much is in circulation, but also how much is being converted into these androgen metabolites that if we are pushing them down that certain pathway, they're going to become more androgenic, more potent, and more reactive to the skin. And that's why we can have people with really severe chronic androgen-driven hormonal acne, but their testosterone blood tests come back normal. It's the same reason why some women can produce testosterone and they don't have acne. Some people produce the same amount of testosterone and they do have acne. It's all to do with what your body is doing with these hormones, how well are they being cleared from the body, and how much is your body actually activating them and making them more potent when we rather be clearing them and getting them out through the urine. So by looking at the urine, we get to see all of that happening. We also get to see some of your other hormones. So estrogen, for example, there's 3 different types of estrogen, and those 3 different types are going to behave and act on the body in a certain different manner. And we've also got 3 stages of estrogen detoxification. So if we were just to take 1 blood sample and see, what your estrogen level is doing on that one day, we might get a totally normal result. But if we look at the Dutch test, we might see, okay, well, yeah, you're producing a normal amount of estrogen, but the problem is actually when it gets to this stage of detoxification, you're not able to clear those hormonal metabolites as well. You're getting an accumulation, and that accumulation of estrogen metabolites is actually ending up going around in circulation again and acting on your tissues again. So for example, that might result in premenstrual symptoms. So like mood swings, sore, tender, swollen breasts. It can contribute to heavy periods and pain. It can contribute to premenstrual fatigue and sugar cravings and headaches. And and again, looking at 1 sample of blood might not give us that detail. And we end up doing a lot of guesswork. We experiment. We go, okay, well, let's work on this, let's work on that. But with the Dutch test, we can really go, yep, here's the problem. It's at this stage of detoxification. Your body's pushing it down this pathway when we want it pushed down this pathway. And, this is what we need to do. So if we can get that, if we can nail it on that level, it takes a lot of the guesswork out, and it's much easier to prescribe a treatment that's going to get more effective results. So, it really, I guess one of the main benefits is that it takes that guesswork out. It makes it a lot easier for everybody involved. So aside from your sex hormones, the Dutch test also looks at some of your stress hormones. So it looks at cortisol, which is one of the body's main stress hormones that is produced in the adrenal glands and which does act on the skin. And with cortisol, again, we can see how much is your body producing, at what time of day is it being produced, because when we think about cortisol, we want it, it's the hormone that wakes us up in the morning and gets us out of bed. So we actually want it peaking just after we wake up around 8 o'clock in the morning. We want you feeling, alert and rested and ready to face the day. If you're not getting that nice peak at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's coming in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or even, peaking again later in the evening, that's going to throw your whole sleep cycle out, your circadian rhythm out, and it's going to have a lot of flow-on effects on the body. So again, we can see, all right, how much of a role is stress and stress hormone playing on your body? It could be more than you think, because it's all connected, right? So if your ovaries are under exposure to cortisol and stress hormones for too long, the cells that produce hormones like testosterone can actually thicken up and produce more hormone. So again, we want a really well-rounded, comprehensive look at all your sex and stress hormones and how they interacting with each other, to be able to formulate a nice, effective treatment plan. So what else about the Dutch test? Really important, and this is often missed when it comes to blood testing for hormones, is that it must be done around day 21 of a 28-day menstrual cycle. So about 7 days before you expect your bleed. So sometimes we need to actually track and pay attention a bit more to our cycle before knowing when it's going to be the right time to take the test. And the reason this is so important is because if we can get that sample around day 21, about 5 to 7 days after ovulation, we get to see what your peak progesterone production is like. So progesterone is one of our sex hormones that can only be produced if you're ovulating. So progesterone is produced by what's called the corpus luteum, which is basically once the egg has been released from the ovary, it builds a little corpus luteum structure and that produces progesterone. If you're on the pill, if you're on hormonal birth control, or if you're not ovulating, you're not going to be making much progesterone at all. And progesterone is really important because it balances out estrogen. So like when I spoke about before about those symptoms like sore, tender breasts, premenstrual symptoms like mood swings, fatigue, sugar cravings, bloating, that's about it, heavy periods, things like that. We need a good level of progesterone to sort of balance out that estrogen. We also need progesterone because it acts like a relaxing neurotransmitter on the brain. So it helps to relax, reduce anxiety, help us to keep a calm mood, and it also helps with clear, soft skin. So it's not just a hormone that keeps you pregnant. It's important for a lot of different things. And by taking that sample or those samples on day 21, we get to see how much progesterone you're actually producing, how well you're actually ovulating. So again, really important. And often I get people come to me with hormone results from the doctor. They went in, they got the blood tested, which is really good. Like, it's good that they're testing for this kind of thing, but there's no attention being paid to the actual day of the cycle that the hormones are being tested on. And if you bring in results and you don't know what day of your cycle they were taken on, it's really not a very effective, it's not a relevant reading of your hormones, because we need context. We need to be able to apply it we want to know what day you're on so that we know whether they're high or low. So really important for women to remember that we're in a constant state of hormonal flux. Hormones are constantly fluctuating throughout the month. It's one of the beautiful parts of being a woman, is that we can use that to our advantage and plan around that, whereas men are more static, like they don't have that cyclical rhythm. So again, important to test on day 21, important to take 4 or 5 samples, and we get the results in about 4 or 5 weeks, and then we have this beautiful comprehensive look at all your hormones. If there's any issues, at what part of the process is the issue occurring, what do we need to do to remedy it, and it's just a really fascinating test. So if you're interested at all in learning more about your hormones and actually finding out what the hell they're doing, because we can cycle and chart and take notes and we can theorize about certain hormonal issues going on, but until we test, it's quite difficult to nail exactly what's going on. So that's a little bit about Dutch testing. I might follow this up with a short blog if you're into more reading than watching, although if you are that person, you probably haven't made it this far into the video. So please get in contact with any questions you have about Dutch testing. It is quite an investment. At the time that this video is being recorded, it's about 385 Australian dollars. But again, you're going to be saving that amount of money by not wasting time with supplements that aren't actually addressing the right hormonal cause, because that's, you know, another issue is that people come to me and go, I think it's hormonal acne and I'm taking Vitex. And I go, well, Vitex is a great herb. It does support hormones, but it works on particular pathways, and we don't know that that particular pathway for you is being affected. Like, you might have a problem over here and Vitex is trying to fix something up here. It's just not the right herb for you. So again, takes the guesswork out. Get in touch with me if you've got any questions, and enjoy your day.